So you guys know in the Soulsborne series and Elden Ring, they're going to have some lore in the background. You're going to be trying to look up the lore in the Wikipedia page, try to connect the dots within the game. You're going to be like, oh, well, this is how the lore happens in the game. But what about for Osu? Osu's also a video game out here like Elden Ring and the Soulsborne. Where's the lore for Osu game? Well, it's been missing for a while now, but the Osu lore just dropped today. And this is actually a connection to last video where I was talking about Emmerich choking a 3000 pp play. And I said like a second half of the video, I was like, dude, I saw this really funny Reddit post about this guy having this L Riz trying to talk up to a girl and say that he's playing the big black and shit. Like, it was a completely failed experiment for him to try to get the bag. But I was kind of reading that. But apparently, there's now a huge spin-off narrative on the Osu game subreddit where there's like a whole chronological order to this whole system here. And I just want to talk about it in this video and just show you guys the whole story for what it is right now. So I'll just get you all up to speed for the first one if you haven't watched the last video. But basically, the first post said, I showed Osu to a girl at work. She came into work and was talking with me, and I randomly blurted out, so do you play games? And she said, nah, not really. So the Osu demons inside me told me, say it, comfortable chip 740, tell her. So I couldn't resist and I said, I play rhythm games. Do you want to see? She reluctantly said, oh yeah, sure, I guess. So I quickly found a big black SS that I uploaded years ago, and she watched in horror. Afterwards, she was silent and said, oh, cool. And I didn't know what to say, so I said, yeah, so that's me. Anyways, I'll see you next week. And then I left work early to avoid having to explain myself. Hopefully by next time I see her, she'll have forgotten about my awkwardness completely. So that's the first part of the story here. He tried to rizz up the girl and tried to do it by saying that he plays Osu with SS the Big Black, and she was kind of obviously turned off and kind of weirded out by that. She was like, this is kind of weird. And I basically said in the last video, if you try to rizz up a girl by saying you play Osu, I don't know, it's just don't even try, bro. Because if they look up Osu on their phone and they see you clicking the circles and seeing all the anime, they're just gonna think you're a freaking weirdo. But this story here essentially spawned a bunch of other narratives that continued the sequel and the cycle here. So I'll just read y'all the next part. My weird coworker 28M showed me 19F his rhythm game obsession at work. So it seems like it's like a Reddit story time thing, and it seems like this is the perspective of the girl here, but let's just read it. Okay, Reddit, I need to vent about the most awkward interaction I've had at my new office job. So there I am, minding my own business when this guy I barely know starts talking to me out of blue. He's one of those quiet types who always looks a bit disheveled and never makes eye contact. Suddenly, he blurts out, so do you play games? I'm not really into gaming, so I just say, nah, not really. Big mistake. His eyes light up like I just asked him to explain the entire lore of the Lord of the Elden Rings. I play rhythm games, he announces, way too excited. Do you want to see? Not wanting to be rude, I reluctantly agree. He whips out his phone so fast I'm surprised it didn't catch fire from the friction. He pulls up some video of a game with circles flying across the screen at Mach speed, and it looks like a migraine simulator. This is me playing, he says, grinning like he just won the Nobel Prize. It's an SS on the Big Black. I'm watching in horror as his fingers twitch over screen like he's having a seizure. Is this what passes for a hobby these days? When it's finally over, I manage a week. Oh, cool. The awkward silence that follows is so thick you could cut it with a knife. He mumbles something about seeing me next week and practically sprints out of the office. I'm praying to the Reddit gods that he forgets his interaction by Monday. And how do I avoid becoming the office weirdo's new fixation? So this is kind of the perspective of the female here. She's kind of like saying, okay, well, this guy tried to rizz me up by playing Osu, but I don't know. I think it's kind of a weirdo. And I thought it was really funny. This post is written with the poise and the vernacular of an English major student that just got an SS on every English class he took, but I'll just read you guys the next part because there's even more to this. My friend fumbled really bad at work. Alright, so I, 27M, was eating lunch at my office cafeteria, and my friend 28M came up to me looking dejected. I was sure something was off because despite him being a quiet guy, he never looked us down. After he got his food, he sat beside me and told me what happened earlier. He told me he was talking with his female coworker, and all of a sudden out of nowhere, he brought up the topic of video games. At first, I thought it wasn't that bad because video games are still a pretty general topic to talk about. Oh boy, I was wrong, because he then mentioned about rhythm games, and it was Osu out of all things he could have talked about. How did bro fumble this bad skull emoji? What's worse is that he even showed her his live play on Big Black, which he got an SS on. Oh my god, I don't even play this game, but I could feel the secondhand embarrassing cooking in. The rest of our lunchtime was really awkward, and I keep hearing him mumbling, how did I fuck up the bad? Then he decided to call it a day and clocked out early, LM foul. thought it would be funny if I share this y'all XD. So this is a third part here where it seems like there's a third party here, and he's just the friend of the Rizzler here. He's like, yeah, my bro just fumbled the bag really badly, but there's even more to the story. So this is by like a fourth part, just kind of like a spin-off story here, but it's kind of saying, I just saw the most embarrassing thing at work. This poor girl was just standing there watching a painstakingly long SS on the big black while the dude was grinning ear to ear, looking at her every 5 seconds to make sure she was still watching. She must have said she knew Cookie Z or something the way he frantically left off the office right after. So it seems like there's just a fourth person here. I'm guessing the whole Osu Games subreddit all works in the same building, and this is why they're able to make these perspectives, but that's the spin-off. But there's even more to this. Like, seriously, like, I thought it would be the end after the second post, but there's even freaking more, dude. So this next part is, I am a boss at a company. My employees keep talking about Osu. So this is the boss of Osu. I guess they're working at Osu Games headquarters, and he says, hello, recently I keep hearing some of my employees talking about Osu. I found out this is a game. Are they playing during their work? Also, the HR department got anonymous report about one of the employees harassing the other one of this game. If this continues, I'll put certain countermeasures against this. Need your advice. P.S. One of the employees is now missing, and I got a video of him SSing the black. So this part, the boss is just saying, guys, I just saw one of my coworkers just try to rizz up his coworker. This is kind of weird, and now he's missing. Like, the plot is sickening here. They're just adding more hooks to keep on going, and the OC Game Subreddit is like, yeah, we're going to continue the story, so let me just read y'all the next part. So this is a perspective of someone that I just saw the person dash out the office building in embarrassment, and he's saying, just saw some people watching the rhythm game outside. All right, basically, I was wandering around in my Toyota in Los Angeles, so I'm assuming this is in Los Angeles, then I heard that song. It was the Big Black or something like that. I looked out my window and saw 4 guys who looked around 43 years of age, just watching a video of that same song and some random circles around it, which I believe was a rhythm game or something. Not that I cared much, but it also felt like they were in some sort of trance, hypnotizing even. So I had to come back a few later's hour. What the fuck? Now it was the middle of the night. I went back to that same place where I saw those 4 guys, and well, what do you know? They were still watching that same video. I don't know what it is about the Big Black and those circles, but I did feel goosebumps running across my body. It was weird, and I guess I'll watch it myself if I find any videos of it to see what's up. So it seems like after this whole event with the Big Black, there's some sort of world building going around in this world where maybe these people are just obsessed with the Big Black, and that's what the main coworker, the Rizzler, like, he found the Big Black, and he found this cultish community that they're watching the SS on the Big Black. Maybe he didn't actually SS the Big Black, but he believes that he SS'd it. Or maybe he is the main perpetrator and is the cult leader of the Big Black here, and just spawned a bunch of these cultists. Maybe this Los Angeles is not the actual place where it's happening, it's just a different world, but just happening in the same world, and he's seeing these people trying to look at the Big Black, and they're just watching that video. Like, it's one of my friends trying to watch K-pop for 18 hours a day. Like, I don't really know. This is kind of crazy. The world building is kind of getting deep, and my blood is kind of boiling. I'm kind of getting some goosebumps right now. It's kind of getting scary, but let me just read y'all the next part with what happened with the guy when he left the co-worker scene. So the main perpetrator got out of the office, and somebody's watching him. He said, I just saw someone getting hit by a truck. I saw someone leaving an office in a hurry. He seemed embarrassed about something. He tried to cross the road without focusing on the surroundings, and a truck suddenly hit him hard. And in his last moments, he was talking about his proudest achievement in life, his Big Black SS score. He died. Rumors has it that he got isekai'd into Osu, but IDK. So this is kind of weird. He got isekai'd. Like, the main heroine or the main hero, he came out of the office building, and maybe he was going to go home and play Osu, but he got hit by a truck and got isekai'd as a slime into a parallel world. Like, I don't really know. It's kind of sad here, but you guys would probably think that the story ends here, but no, there's even more, bro. Oh my god. Like, I don't even know why it's continuing on like this, but it's just getting even crazier, this story. Dead body at the morgue came alive today. This dead guy who was hit by a truck came into the morgue I work at today. After checking his body for ID, I saw a video of him SSing Big Black playing. I tapped the screen by accident, which unmuted the video. I think the song awoke him. I'm assuming he had an experience with the song that caused him distress because he seemed quite flushed. So it seems like he just got revived, like somebody just used a mercy ult on him, and he's just got revived by hearing the Big Black, like the absolute clusterfuck of a song that Big Black is, and he just heard it and he was like, I died, but I'm gonna come back. Maybe, like, there's a Big Black god that's controlling the Big Black cultists, because we saw earlier in this world, there's a Big Black cult where people are watching it outside or just doing it, and maybe this guy is like the main cult leader, and the Big Black god was like, oh, well, you got killed by the truck, you got isekai'd, died, but I'm gonna bring you back because perhaps the summoning ritual is that they have to hear the big black in the other world. Maybe he did get isekai'd into another world, but I'll just bring you guys to the next topic because this is actually getting even crazier, this lore here. What the hell is going on? So this is a pretty long one, but okay, so I, 17M, was living in a different world where everything is made of circles and cylinders when I suddenly fell unconscious and found myself in a dark place. I looked above me and saw myself, or what used to be myself, someone who's using my body and clicking on his surroundings. He was mumbling something about big black. Did I die? I asked myself, to which I was immediately answered. A giant wormhole appeared in front of me in a vertical position, and with it, my possessed body looked at me with eyes wide open in a tilted head, then said, I have been called. Take my place, friend. I will sight read your world. What the frick are you saying? Before I could finish what I was saying, the wormhole started bending and fell on me like a slinky. I have no recollection of what happened in the wormhole, but it felt like years. I then woke up in a weird world. Something was looking at me with horror. It was holding an odd device that was making a weird noise. It then talked. Hi, cough. Can I help you? I was just as confused as he was, but I couldn't stay dumbfounded, so I asked, where am I? What is going on? He then replied, you were hit by a truck a couple hours ago. Fortunately, you were near a morgue, so we were preparing for a burial, but then I saw your phone. It had a video of Osu open, a game I used to play years ago. I accidentally opened the audio and now we're here. Truck? Morgue? Phone? WTF are you saying? Also, what do you mean by saying Osu's a game? That's literally where I live. I said, even more confused than I already was. We stared at each other for a solid minute. Neither of us could process what was going on, so I decided to break the silence and ask, neither of us understands what the hell is going on, so is there someone we can ask for help? I'll tell you my story, then we could ask for help. He then quickly replied, I know where I can ask for help. Give me a min. He took out a weird device that looked similar to the one he was originally holding, fiddled with it for a bit, then started talking, hey Brian, I need your help with something. He then explained my situation to whoever Brian is and gave me the weird device while saying, tell Brian everything that happened to you. Make it as detailed as possible. He should be able to help you. And that's why I'm here. I'm Brian and I need your guys' help. This guy's most likely mentally ill and I try to show that by writing from his perspective. He doesn't know what a phone is, for the love of God, and worst of all, my friend thinks he came back from the dead. I've written many stories, but this takes the cake as the most ridiculous. If any of you know a therapist that we can send this guy to, that would be very appreciated. I'm curious what the therapist will think while talking to him. So this is a pretty big lore builder here. It seems like the guy that just got hit by the truck, it seems like his other body, he was being possessed with like the current cult leader body, and when he got hit by the truck, he died, right, like the other body, but he was still in the Osu world, because it seems like Osu is like another world where the guy is just like chilling and he's like playing amongst the circles and the cylinders. But then when the cult leader died and hit the truck and was sent to the morgue, perhaps the guy in the Osu world was like, oh shit, well now I found myself in this dark place, what's going on? Perhaps he got summoned into the new world where Osu is a cult, like the big black, there's cult leaders here, and he got summoned because the big black was playing the audio, and he's like now in this weird world. He got reverse isekai. He got isekai back to his older world. So it seems like there's like a plot going on where there's two people where their identities are the same, but they're in parallel worlds. One is the Osu world and one is the real world. So this is kind of just crazy. The plot just thickens, and it seems like this guy's going to go to a therapist now, and people are just writing this from the perspective of watching this guy come back from the dead. But there's even more to the story here. Let me just read you guys it. My life took a weird turn. Hi, before I explain everything, I should start by introducing myself. I'm a therapist, male 48, and I hold a cabinet. I've seen a lot of people. Some are even more troubled than you can ever imagine. But today, I've got a weird one, and let's just say a very unusual case. So first things first, a guy calls me with the cabinet's number and explained to me that his coworker has awoken a guy from the dead who was hit by a truck by playing a song very popular in some rhythm game. Then he tells me he doesn't believe the story at all, but that's what his coworker told him to say. He thinks his coworker's lost it and I should try to help him. So I take his name, he is called Brian, and I ask him to bring his coworker with him to my cabinet. Then he precise that the guy which rose from the dead will also be there. About like 20 minutes later, they're already there. I let them enter. Brian says he needs to go back to work and whispers to me that the more he thinks about it, the more he thinks his coworker is making them a bad joke or that he's going crazy. Then I proceed to listen carefully to my two guests. One seems as lost as the other. The first one, who's presenting himself as a regular morgue worker, says he was doing his work when he played on his phone some popular song in a game called Osu. The song is called The Big Black by the Quick Brown Fox, and it was some kind of perfect play in that game, which is called an SS. Then he says that the body he was working on suddenly came back to life, but seemed to be a bit lost. Then the second guy starts talking, saying he comes from another reality, that he came from the game Osu itself, that this body doesn't belong to him, and that he saw the owner of his actual body, supposedly the dead one, before awakening in some weird outer space place, saying he will sight read his world. What the fuck? I told them to come back tomorrow as I was about to close the cabinet. I told the morgue employee to take care of what seems to be a stranger. To be honest, I don't know what to think about this madness. It's the first time doing my job that I don't find any rational explanation. It's going way too far to be just a bad joke, especially since Brian called me after the two guys left, telling me that the body did indeed disappear. So, do you guys think that this guy really comes from another reality? I ask you the question since the reality he claims to come from is literally your game universe, the Osu game universe. I might give the game a shot to try finding an explanation, but also because after rewatching the Big Black SS multiple times, I think I could enjoy this game. Anyways, that's it for me. I hope you guys can enlighten me on what's happening. So this is kind of creepy now. He went to the therapist, the guy that just got reverse isekai'd, and was like, dude, I don't know where I am. I was really in my Osu world just chilling. And now you guys are saying you guys have a video game that's based off my old world, and you guys don't even know about my old world. Like, what's going on here? So this therapist is kind of looking at the situation. He's like, okay, well, I've dealt with a lot of bullshit in my life, but this is a first. Someone saying they got reverse isekai'd. I don't really know. But you guys would probably think it ends here, but there's even more. I swear this is the last part, so I'm sorry this video is super freaking long, but this is the new Osu lore that just dropped, and the next part here. So just to preface, it seems like the ages are pretty inconsistent here. Like one time this guy's like 27 years old, the next time's 19-year-old, and now he's 28 years old. I don't know, there's a bit of plot holes in the narrative here, and perhaps that's something that the writers should look at. But let me just read it to you guys, and we'll just like not even think about the age. But he said, I, 28M, took an experimental surgery to cure my mental illness, but now everything is a circle. So I'm assuming this happened after the therapy session, and he's like, dude, I don't even know what to do. The therapist just said I have a mental illness, but now I went through this surgery procedure. But let me just read it to you guys. I have terrible mental illness from being hit by a truck, or at least that's what the therapist said. But it was real. I was isekai'd to Osu. I lived for years there, became the top player in that world. I was clicking the circles with my hands and feet. They were my everything. The only thing in the world that was real. He said I was crazy, locked me in a straitjacket, and kidnapped me to a mental hospital. I am not crazy. I am not crazy. The psychologist and the psychiatrist, they want to put me under an experimental surgery test for some reason. The top doctor was called O Guy or something. It felt more like some twisted nightmare when I woke in the world of circles. Everything, people, buildings, trees has seemed to turn out an endless array of rotating, pulsating circles. Even my body, human a moment before, was now spears. It was a desperate move on my part, going for an experimental surgery in an attempt to silence the Osu demons that plagued my mind. Of all those empty promises made by the surgeon, one was that the surgery would be able to recalibrate my brain and change neural pathways to break any form of obsessive thoughts. The result instead had shattered my perception of reality. The first thing I noticed after surgery was the ceiling of the hospital room, which should have been tiles and lights, were now in an infinite expanse of overlapping circles, each of them swirling and pulsating seemingly to an invisible rhythm. Panic set in as I worked to make sense of this new spherical hell. I bolted upright to find that even the act of moving was accompanied by a gritty dance of motion and circles. I stumbled out the hospital. The world outside was no better. Wheels were spinning everywhere, looping all over the streets, cars no longer recognizable as such but blobs of circulation. The people, or at least what seemed to be people, moved in circular arcs. Faces became a blur, spirals of an instant existential dread, overwhelming. I seemed to be trapped in some nightmare landscape where nothing made sense. My mind reverted to Osu. What was once my pride had turned into a personal hell. That perfect SS on the Big Black wasn't an accomplish anymore. It was a curse. The rhythm, the circles, unending tapping foreshadowed this twisted reality. An obsession consumed me, and now it had manifested in the most literal sense. I could see the Big Black player in the sky, and I replaced the sun. Every effort to connect with this world ended in confusion and horror. Ordering food was impossible. The menu was a blur of rotating circles. Conversations were maddeningly impossible. Utter spoken words could twist into spirals before they reached my ears. The sound waves warping and turning to circles because their speech was foreign to me. It was maddening. I was alone, imprisoned in the prison of circles with no way out. It deepened in horror with every day. The circles boded not only visual but also auditory, tactile, smell, everything. Every sound, be it the chirping of birds or the hum of any machinery, was distorted into a rhythmic pulse, pulsing forever. My taste buds changed from the normal goblet shape to 2D circles. Food was a bizarre amalgamation of putrid in my mouth. Even sleep brought no relief, for my dreams were flooded with endless patterns of spinning orbs, ceaselessly reminding me of my torment. The weeks went by, and my sanity was slowly starting to slip as well. The circles did not just grossly mutilate my line of vision, but also seemed to fill up my mind. A sense of dread was consuming me in an existential kind of way. What is real anymore? Is there still some way to get back to normalcy, or have I been damned to spend life in this erstwhile circle purgatory? That was until I came home one day and I saw a person, a young girl, one who wasn't changed to become circles like the others. She was so beautiful, ephemerally luminescent in the light. She had black and pink hair with an Osu hoodie on. She introduced herself as PP. So that was written with the utmost pose. This guy obviously got a 1600 on an SAT for his English section, but this guy's absolutely writing this. He's just absolutely dogging on this narrative here. And I don't know if this is written by ChatGPT, but if this is written by a real person, this is really impressive. This guy could probably write the next David Goggins novel or something, make it a bestseller. But it seems like what happened with our protagonist here is that after he went to the therapist section, he got kidnapped by the therapist and was sent to an experimental ward, where I'm assuming they did some brain fuckery and made his mind go back to what he described his old world was like, but they fucked up the experiment. So he was like, dude, I used to be in an Osu world where everything is circles. So they're like, huh, well, we're gonna try to fix you and try to make you go back to your old world. But they messed up the brain circuits, and now he's in a torment of endless circles around the place, and he's going through all of these ailments in his mind, and his life is just a complete wreck now. And it seems like weeks happened, and now he met a girl named PP, which is essentially the Osu avatar, and that's kind of just the end of the story here. There's like literally nothing else after this lore. It's been 6 hours. Maybe there's gonna be a new update, and I'll update you guys if there's the next update and tell it in the next video. But I just want to give my theory crafting for this really quick. So maybe this Osu lore here, so what we know about this world, it's a world where there's a big black cult going around. It seems like the protagonist, perhaps there's some demonic force going around where it controls this person to essence the big black and to form the cult around him. Maybe he's Cookie Z or Ryuchi. I don't really know what the main character here is, but it seems like some person that's a bit of a cult leader. And then he died and went to the truck and he got isekai'd, but it seems like that the main person in this world is like a false persona, and he's not actually the real protagonist. He's like the big black cult leader. Maybe he's like a demon or something. And then when he died and actually came back in the morgue when someone was playing the big black, maybe that's a summoning ritual. Like, you know how in the gacha games where you summon people with your primo gems and shit. This is like the summoning ritual where you use the big black to summon the old person from the Osu world into this new world. So that happened, and it seemed like the fake persona, he's like, dude, it's my time. We're gonna switch places now. And he reversed isekai from the Osu world into the new world, and he's like, where the fuck am I? And I guess it's like the Osu god was like, dude, I don't really know, like maybe it's the person to revive him. Maybe like a theory is that PP revived him. Maybe Peppy himself came out of the Osu world and was like, yeah, we're gonna bring you to this new world. And for what purpose? I don't really know, because it's kind of weird. Maybe he wants him, maybe there's like a secret key or secret, maybe they have to find like the Osu One Piece in this new world, and they can only do it by the big black. I don't really know. I haven't really thought about this hard, but I have another theory. Maybe the main protagonist here is Osu 420, because you know Osu 420, he's playing Osu all day long, and we don't really know what's happening after this lore here. Maybe what happens after this lore is that this Osu person's like, dude, I miss my homeland so much and I'm corrupted with my mind. The only thing in my mind is to play Osu. So maybe he transformed to Osu 420 and played Osu all the time because that's his only way of coping with his sad existence. And maybe PP was like, maybe she told him, dude, the only way you're gonna do this is if you play like a billion hours of Osu or something. Then I'll return you to your old world and you'll be chill. Maybe Osu 420 is trying to do that as his goal. Maybe besides him coping with his existential dread, he has to play like a billion maps and like clear every map before he can go to his old world and be chill again. So I don't really know. That's my theory here. It might just be completely schizo, but I thought this whole story here was pretty impressive, and I just wanted to talk about it because I thought, because the first thing was that it was a pretty funny narrative, right? This guy was just trying to rizz up a girl, but now it turned to this absolute epic, a narrative and story that rivals even One Piece, and this guy's out here trying to return to his old world after meeting PP. But we'll see what happens after this. I'll update you guys if there's a second part, but yeah, that's pretty much all I want to say in this video, and I'll see y'all.